I just watched the greatest basketball game I've ever seen. Definitely the greatest regular season game I've ever seen. Last night, the Sacramento Kings and the Los Angeles Clippers faced off. The final score, 176-175. Sacramento won in double overtime, a combined 351 points between the two teams, the second most combined points in a single game ever, also the highest scoring game that went to only double overtime. There was a lot to unpack here, from the game itself, to the teams involved, to the players. It's not just about the highest scoring game of the 21st century, it's about everything that happened during the game. So here's the thing, it wasn't just that the game went to double overtime that caused this massive scoring outburst, because these teams combined for 306 points in regulation alone. That's 153 points for each team. For context, prior to this game, the most points scored by an NBA team this season was 153 points. Two teams actually accomplished this, the OKC Thunder and, ironically, the Sacramento Kings. So just out of regulation, this is the highest scoring game of the season if they didn't go to overtime. Three players in this game combined for 131 points, which is just 10 points off of a top 30 scoring game by a team this season. And mind you, that's just 15.8% of the players who played in this game. But for as crazy as the numbers from this game were, so were the teams. The Sacramento Kings currently have the longest active playoff drought in sports at 16 seasons. They have been in a state of dysfunction, bad draft picks, and poor play for a majority of my life. However, things have been different this season. Around a core of all-stars in Iman Fox and Sabonis, as well as key players around them like Malik Monk, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, and rookie Keegan Murray, the Kings have looked really good this season and are currently a top 3 seed in the West. Now, they have plenty of teams on their tail, including the Clippers, but they look like they're about to end that playoff drought. And they're really easy to root for. They have a ton of fun players, they have a really good fan base, and to see them play well has been awesome. The Clippers have had arguably a more dysfunctional history overall than Sacramento in terms of all-time status. They've had a long history of really bad years and fill-in years that are about falling short and being disappointing. They've had fun teams. I think the Lob City Clippers are one of the most fun teams ever, and I think when healthy, this current Clippers team is a lot of fun as well. But it's to the point with falling short that you wonder if this team is cursed, because nothing ever seems to go right for them. They've always been the little brother in LA. Even in years they've been better than the Lakers. However, regardless of that, or the fact they lost this game, they were really good last night. Historically good. Malik Monk is the player I want to start with because it meant the most to me. Monk is one of my favorite draft prospects ever. He was an explosive scorer in high school and at Kentucky. His game against North Carolina is one of the best prospect games I've ever seen. I wanted him to be a Celtic so bad. I'll even admit, I wanted him over Tam at the time. We've seen how that worked out. I thought he was an absolute steal though for the Hornets at pick 11, considering I didn't think he should have fallen out of the top 5, let alone the top 10. But things didn't work out early on in Charlotte. His first 3 years didn't go well for too many reasons to talk about in this video. However, once the Hornets drafted LaMelo Ball in 2020, I think it became clear for what Malik Monk needed to thrive as a basketball player. he needed to work off an elite playmaker, which he did in Charlotte in the 2021 season with LaMelo. He did it with the Lakers in 2022 with LeBron, and he's doing it now with the Kings this season with both Iman Fox and Domantas Sabonis. It's no coincidence to me that Monk has proven he can be a valuable rotation piece as an explosive scorer since he started playing off of good to elite playmakers. Monk's 45 points tonight aren't just a career high. They're the 10th most points ever by a player off the bench, tied for the most points off the bench by a player in the 2020s, tied for the second most off the bench since 2010, and tied for the third most off the bench since 2000, and the most points scored in the second highest scoring game ever on the same floor as 4 all-star level players. Monk showcased his speed, craftiness, athleticism, shot-making ability, and really just what he is when he's locked in. He's a streaky player to say the least. He is inconsistent at times, but he's also a lot of fun to watch, and he's even more fun to watch on nights like this. To see a player you've been rooting for since high school do something like this in the NBA is special, and for me as a longtime supporter of Malik Monk, I'll always remember when he outscored Kawhi Leonard in arguably the greatest regular season game of all time. Now, Kawhi Leonard did what he does. I know people have somewhat forgotten because of the injuries and the load management, but when healthy, this is one of the 5 to 10 best players in basketball. He was hitting his mid-range shots that he's made a signature of his game. He was overpowering defenders with his strength. He was hitting threes. He just looked dominant out there, which he is known to do when he's at his best. Kawhi may never have the crazy career totals or the most games played. He might not even be the player he once was, but the way he played tonight reminded people that he's still here. He's still at the very least close to what he was prior to the big injury in LA. And if he can stay healthy, he's still good enough to take this Clippers team to the finals. This is still an elite basketball player. This is still someone teams should fear in the playoffs, assuming he plays, of course. And while the Clippers lost this game, Kawhi wasn't the reason. Kawhi was the reason this game was as close as it was. He did everything he could to keep them in it. The final player I want to talk about is Iman Fox. Fox was the 3rd leading scorer in this game, but he was probably the best player on the floor tonight. Fox proved he was an all-star this year, and while he didn't score at all in the all-star game, he sure did score a lot in this game. 42 points and 12 assists. He scored or assisted on 70 points, which accounted for nearly 40% of the Kings' offensive production. I'm just happy to see Fox play well on a winning team. He's always been a good player. He's improved every year. But he's gotten overshadowed because he really didn't have the team success in years prior compared to other young guards on his level. But this season, he does have that team success, and he's being recognized for it with his all-star selection and really just becoming more known around the league. He's a fun player to watch. He seems to play better when the lights get brighter, which is why I can't wait to see what he does in the playoffs this season. This game was a ton of fun to watch. I don't agree with people who say this isn't good hoops or this was bad basketball because it was just a high-scoring game, and that's the conclusion some people decide to come to. Yes, it was high-scoring, but it also had a bunch of players scoring in a really fun way. Westbrook looked really solid in his Clippers debut. Paul George played well and honestly probably would have joined Leonard, Fox, and Monk in the 40-plus point club tonight if he wasn't on a minutes restriction. Sabonis looked really good before he fouled out. Keegan Murray was solid for a rookie in this game, especially a game like this. which, considering he spent his college basketball career playing in the Big Ten, he's probably never been a part of a game like this before with this much scoring. Nick Batum had his moments in the game, pouring in 19 points. I thought Mason Plumlee was awesome and is proving he's a really good pickup for this Clippers team. It was overall just a really fun game, one that felt fun from start to finish. The largest lead in this game was 14 points, which may feel like a lot, but honestly in today's NBA, a 14-point lead is nothing. 20-point leads in today's NBA is nothing, let alone 14 points when you really pay attention to the games. For the most part, this game was really close, and it's something I will remember forever for many reasons, but mainly because this is a historic game. A game that will be remembered in history by me and many others who watched it or rewatched it, even if it was just a regular season game off All-Star break.